December 8, 1941. Just past midnight. Tokyo is quiet, but inside the Naval General Staff Building, the air vibrates. Cigarette smoke hangs low beneath the ceiling lamps. Maps of the Pacific cover the walls, red pins driven deep into blue felt. Pearl Harbor, Guam, Wake Island, Hong Kong. The names are whispered like prayers already answered. Captain Minoru Genda, architect of the Pearl Harbor strike, stands near a long oak table. His flight jacket is still creased from travel. Someone pours sake into porcelain cups. Hands tremble, not from fear, but from triumph. Outside, the Empire sleeps. Inside, the war has already been won. At least, that's how it feels. An officer breaks the silence. 4 American battleships sunk. Others damaged. Aircraft destroyed on the ground. A pause. Then smiles. Not loud ones. Controlled. Professional. The kind men wear when they believe history has just bent in their favor. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, Commander-in-Chief of the Combined Fleet, is not present. He is aboard his flagship Nagato, far from Tokyo. But his shadow looms over the room. They know his words by heart. We have run wild for 6 months. After that, I have no confidence. Still, tonight, those 6 months feel like eternity. You can almost hear it, the quiet arithmetic unfolding in their minds. America's Pacific Fleet crippled. Its battleships at the bottom of the harbor. Its pride shattered in a single morning. Japan now owns the ocean. The officers lean over charts showing the Philippines, the Dutch East Indies, Malaya. Oil fields circled in grease pencil. Sea lanes traced in bold strokes. This was never just about Pearl Harbor. It was about time. Time to seize resources. Time to fortify island chains. Time to build a defensive perimeter so vast that no enemy could ever break it. Someone laughs softly. The Americans won't have the stomach for this kind of war. Heads nod. The United States is a commercial nation, they say. Soft. Divided. A people of factories and baseball games, not sacrifice and endurance. Another officer raises his cup. To the decisive blow. Porcelain clicks. Yet not everyone smiles. In a corner of the room, a younger intelligence officer studies a stack of papers he hasn't yet presented. His name will never make documentaries. But his hands are cold. Because even now, less than 24 hours after the attack, numbers are beginning to arrive. Across the Pacific, America is already waking up. By January 1942, Japanese forces are advancing everywhere. Singapore falls. The Philippines are collapsing. The Prince of Wales and Repulse lie wrecked on the seafloor. The Imperial Japanese Navy is at its zenith. Carrier pilots are gods of the sky. Men like Mitsuo Fukuda, who led the first wave over Pearl Harbor, revered almost as myth. Their flight decks hum with confidence. Their torpedoes find targets. Their doctrine, decisive battle, appears vindicated by reality itself. In Tokyo, the celebrations have matured into planning. How long will America take to recover? Months. Years. Japanese planners pore over pre-war estimates. The U.S. Navy had been building ships slowly in the 1930s. Budgets constrained. Isolationist politics. Congressional bickering. The assumption is simple and dangerously logical. America cannot replace what was lost, at least not quickly enough. But intelligence is a patient predator. By February, intercepted reports begin filtering in through naval attaches, trade journals, and neutral observers. At first, they seem exaggerated, almost insulting. One memo mentions new carrier keels already laid. Another speaks of standardized cargo ships, built not by craftsmen, but by methods borrowed from automobile factories. An intelligence analyst circles a figure in red ink, then circles it again. He does the math twice. It still doesn't make sense. March 1942. Tokyo. The Naval Technical Department convenes a closed briefing. No press. No speeches. Just numbers. A projector clicks on. On the screen, American shipyards. Newport News. Brooklyn Navy Yard. Kaiser Yards on the West Coast. Slide after slide. Timelines. Output charts. Production curves that don't rise, they explode. Liberty ships. One every few days. Then one every day. Then faster. Essex-class carriers, larger than anything Japan can build, enter mass production. Not prototypes. Not experiments. Assembly lines. Steel arrives by rail. Engines by truck. Hull sections welded, not riveted. Workers trained in weeks, not years. Someone in the room mutters, "Impossible." But the slides keep coming. America has not entered the war slowly. It has entered it like an avalanche. The room is silent now. The sake untouched. An admiral clears his throat. How many carriers? The answer lands like a shell burst. Not just replacements. More than Japan has, combined. You can almost feel the temperature drop. This is not a fleet. This is an ecosystem. Factories feeding shipyards. Shipyards feeding fleets. Fleets protected by more factories. A system designed not for brilliance, but for endurance. For replacement. For loss. For a war that lasts not months, but years. Captain Genda stares at the screen. His Pearl Harbor plan was flawless. The execution near perfect. But something fundamental is shifting beneath his feet. Pearl Harbor bought time. But time, it turns out, is exactly what America knows how to manufacture. And as the meeting adjourns, one unspoken question follows every officer out into the corridor. What happens when those ships arrive? Because far across the Pacific, hulls are already sliding into the water. And they are coming. April 1942. Tokyo. Early morning rain taps against the windows of the Naval Intelligence Bureau. Inside, the sound you hear is paper. Folders sliding across tables. Pages turning. Pencils scratching margins until the graphite breaks. There is no celebration now, only calculation. The kind that drains color from faces. Commander Shigeru Fukudome, senior staff officer to the combined fleet, leans over a ledger-stamped secret. His uniform is immaculate, but his eyes are tired. He has not slept. The figures inside the folder are not rumors anymore. They are confirmed. American shipbuilding capacity, converted to wartime footing, is beyond anything Japan anticipated. Beyond anything Japan can counter. You can almost feel the weight of the room pressing inward as the briefing begins. An intelligence officer steps forward, bowing stiffly. These are verified estimates based on yard output, labor mobilization, and steel allocation. He hesitates, then continues. In 1941, the United States produced approximately 1 million tons of merchant shipping. A pause. In 1942, projected output exceeds 8 million tons. Someone exhales sharply. Another officer closes his eyes. 8 times. And that's just merchant ships. The officer flips the page. Escort carriers. Fleet carriers. Destroyers. Submarines. Each category has its own column. Each column is a verdict. The Essex-class carrier program alone is staggering. 17 fleet carriers authorized. Hulls already rising. Decks wider than Akagi. Elevators faster. Armor thicker. Aircraft capacity unmatched. Japan, by contrast, is converting liners into carriers. Sacrificing speed. Compromising protection. One nation builds from scratch. The other improvises. You don't need to say it out loud. Everyone in the room understands. This is not a race. It's a mismatch of civilizations. Across the Pacific, American shipyards work around the clock. Lights burn through the night in Richmond, California. Men and women, welders, riveters, electricians, stream through gates in shifts that never end. Rosie the Riveter is not a poster here. She is real. She is everywhere. Hull sections are prefabricated inland, shipped by rail, welded into place in days. What once took months now takes weeks. A Liberty ship slides into the water. Then another. Then another. Each launch is met not with ceremony, but efficiency. No bands. No speeches. Just whistles, cheers, and the next keel laid before the water settles. And the numbers keep climbing. Japanese naval intelligence intercepts American trade publications boasting about production speeds. One article claims a cargo ship completed in just over 4 days. At first, Tokyo assumes propaganda. Then neutral diplomats confirm it. Then photographs arrive. The disbelief turns into something worse. Understanding. Admiral Yamamoto reads the report aboard Nagato while anchored at Hashirajima. The sea is calm. Too calm. He reads slowly, carefully, as if the paper might detonate. When he finishes, he folds it once. Then again. Places it beside his cap. He does not speak for a long time. Yamamoto had studied in America. Lived there. He had seen Detroit, Chicago, the endless rail yards, the factories that never slept. He knew this was possible. What he hadn't known was how fast it would happen. America is like a sleeping giant, he had warned. Once awakened, it will fight a war of production. Now the giant is not just awake. It is sprinting. By mid-1942, Japanese planners revised their timelines. The defensive perimeter, once imagined as impregnable, now feels thin. Islands once considered distant outposts are suddenly frontline positions. Midway, the Solomons, Guadalcanal. Each dot on the map represents not just territory, but time. How long until the Americans arrive in force? Months. Less. Submarine reports indicate new American hulls appearing everywhere. Convoys grow larger. Escorts more numerous. Losses are absorbed, replaced almost immediately. For Japan, every ship lost is a wound that does not heal. Steel is scarce. Oil scarcer. Skilled labor irreplaceable. A carrier sunk is not just gone, it is gone forever. The numbers don't lie. They simply wait. In June 1942, the gamble is made. Midway. 4 Japanese carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, veterans of Pearl Harbor. The finest naval aviation force Japan has ever assembled. The plan is decisive. Desperate. One more blow to shatter American morale before those shipyards can fully speak. For a moment, it almost works. Then the dive bombers arrive. When the smoke clears, the Pacific has changed. 4 carriers burning. Hundreds of elite pilots dead. Experience, years of training, vanished in minutes. America loses 1 carrier. Japan loses the future. And somewhere in Tokyo, an intelligence officer updates a chart. The production numbers do not pause. They accelerate. By late 1942, the realization has fully set in. This war will not be decided by brilliance, or courage, or even victory at sea. It will be decided by arithmetic. Every Japanese operation now carries an unspoken fear. Not can we win this battle, but can we afford to fight it? America can lose ships and keep coming. Japan cannot. And as reports confirm new Essex-class carriers fitting out, names like Enterprise, Yorktown, Lexington Reborn, the nightmare becomes unavoidable. Pearl Harbor was not the beginning of American collapse. It was the starting gun of American production. And the finish line is moving closer. The next carrier will arrive sooner than expected. Then another. Then another. Until the ocean itself is filled with steel. And Japan's window, once measured in years, is now measured in months. The question is no longer if the Americans will return. It is whether Japan can survive the moment they do. August 7, 1942. Dawn breaks over Guadalcanal. The jungle steams as if the island itself is breathing. Offshore, the silhouettes of American ships hang on the horizon. Transports, cruisers, destroyers. More hulls than Japanese planners ever expected this soon. You can almost feel the unease ripple through the Imperial Navy's command structure. This isn't a raid. This isn't a probe. This is an arrival. For the first time since Pearl Harbor, American boots hit contested ground in force. Marines wade ashore, rifles held high, packs soaked. Overhead, aircraft roar from carriers that should not yet exist, at least, not according to pre-war estimates. In Tokyo, the reaction is sharp and immediate. How many ships? The answer is worse than feared. And worse still, there are more behind them. The battle for Guadalcanal becomes something entirely new. Not a single clash. Not a decisive engagement. But a grinding test of endurance. Night after night, Japanese destroyers race down the slot, unloading troops and supplies under cover of darkness. They fight brilliantly, savagely, often successfully. But every run burns fuel Japan cannot replace. Every loss is permanent. Meanwhile, American convoys keep coming. Slow, methodical, protected by a growing screen of escorts built specifically to hunt submarines and survive damage. A Japanese officer watching the sea lanes remarks quietly, "It is like fighting the tide." He is not wrong. Back in Tokyo, production tables are revised again and again. The Americans are not just replacing losses. They are expanding. New destroyer classes. Faster, longer-ranged submarines. Radar sets that see through darkness and rain. Training programs that produce pilots in numbers Japan cannot dream of. Men good enough, not perfect, but replaceable. That word begins to haunt Japanese planners. Replaceable. The Imperial Navy had been built around elite crews, carefully selected, meticulously trained. It was a scalpel. America has built a hammer, and it has learned how to swing it. September 1942. Another report crosses Yamamoto's desk. U.S. shipyards are now launching vessels faster than Japanese submarines can sink them. The math is no longer grim. It is catastrophic. Liberty ships lost in the Atlantic are replaced before their loss is even processed. In the Pacific, damaged carriers limp home and return months later stronger than before. Japan has no such luxury. Even victories feel hollow now. When USS Hornet is sunk at Santa Cruz, Japanese pilots cheer, then fall silent as American radio traffic indicates new carriers already en route. Names keep appearing. Essex, Bunker Hill, Intrepid, each one a reminder that the war Japan planned for is slipping away. By 1943, the transformation is undeniable. American task forces grow larger, more complex, more confident. Carrier groups operate with layered defenses, fighters, radar pickets, anti-aircraft screens. Losses still occur. Ships still burn. But the fleet absorbs the damage and advances anyway. Japanese commanders begin receiving impossible orders. Hold islands without air cover. Attack convoys without fuel. Win battles without ships. They obey. They always obey. In private, the tone shifts. Officers who once spoke of conquest now speak of delay. Every operation is designed not to win, but to buy time. Time for diplomacy. Time for negotiation. Time for something, anything, to change. But the shipbuilding numbers never change. They only grow. Late 1943. A young Japanese staff officer stares at a Pacific map now crowded with American fleet symbols. He traces a finger from Hawaii to the Gilberts, the Marshalls, the Solomons. The line moves closer to Japan. He stops. For the first time, he allows himself to think the unthinkable. Pearl Harbor was a tactical masterpiece. But strategically, it awakened a nation that measures war not in glory, but in output. Steel, oil, men, time. And Japan is running out of all four. As the American fleets mass for the next leap forward, the Imperial Navy faces a truth no amount of courage can erase. You cannot outfight an enemy who can outbuild you. And soon, very soon, the carriers born in American shipyards will come not to contest the Pacific, but to take it. June 19, 1944. The Philippine Sea. Early morning. The horizon is crowded. American carriers stretch from left to right. More than a dozen fleet and light carriers, their decks alive with motion. Aircraft engines whine. Deck crews move with rehearsed precision. The sea itself seems smaller now, compressed beneath an armada that should not exist, at least not this soon. Japanese pilots call it something else. A wall. Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa stands on the bridge of Taiho, Japan's newest and most advanced carrier. She represents everything the empire has learned: armored flight deck, modern design, a symbol of renewal after years of loss. But symbols do not stop bombers. Ozawa knows the numbers. Everyone does now. This battle, if it can even be called that, is no longer about maneuver or surprise. It is about whether Japan can still strike hard enough to matter. Across the water, American radar screens light up. Contacts. Dozens of them. The Japanese strike is coming. What follows will later be called the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. But in the moment, it feels nothing like a slaughter. Japanese pilots fly bravely. They always do. They push through flak, through fighters, through impossible odds. Many never return. Those who do are shaken. American fighters, Hellcats, descend in waves. Faster. Heavier. Piloted by men trained in a system that assumes losses and replaces them without pause. Japanese aircraft fall from the sky in smoking spirals. And still, American decks remain crowded with planes. Still, more launches. Still, more fuel. This is not a battle between fleets. It is a collision between two industrial philosophies. Below decks on Taiho, a single American torpedo finds its mark. Damage control teams rush in. Vapors build. A mistake is made. An explosion tears the carrier apart from the inside. Japan's pride vanishes beneath the waves. Another carrier gone. Another irreplaceable loss. Across the fleet, submarines strike. Bombs fall. Fires spread. By nightfall, Japanese naval aviation has been shattered. Hundreds of pilots, gone. Years of training, gone. And the American fleet. It reorganizes, refuels, prepares for the next operation, as if nothing has happened. In Tokyo, the reports arrive one by one. Each is worse than the last. Carrier air groups annihilated. New ships lost before they could change the balance. The last reserves of trained aviators expended in a single, desperate gamble. And Admiral whispers, "We cannot fight another battle like this." No one disagrees. The shipbuilding numbers, once shocking, are now fate. American yards are launching carriers faster than Japan can train pilots to fly from them. Escort carriers swarm the seas. Destroyers guard every convoy. Submarines choke Japanese supply lines with ruthless efficiency. The equation is complete. Japan no longer lacks courage. It lacks time. By late 1944, the Imperial Japanese Navy exists mostly on paper. Fuel shortages ground ships. Training is curtailed. New pilots receive weeks where their predecessors received years. The Americans, meanwhile, are already planning beyond the Pacific. Their factories hum uninterrupted. Steel flows. Hulls slide. Aircraft roll off lines by the thousands. The war has become something unstoppable. Not because of hatred. Not even because of strategy. But because one nation can replace everything it loses, and the other cannot replace anything at all. An officer who once celebrated Pearl Harbor now looks at the same map and sees it differently. Not as a battlefield, but as a conveyor belt. From San Francisco to Tokyo, each arrow points one way, and there is no longer any illusion about where it ends. The numbers have finished speaking, and what they are saying is final. March 1945. Kure Naval Base. Inland Sea of Japan. The harbor is crowded, but not alive. Battleships and cruisers sit at anchor like relics in a museum. Paint peels. Decks are quiet. There is almost no fuel left to move them, even if the order came. Above them, the sky belongs to someone else now. American aircraft pass overhead daily. Sometimes they attack. Sometimes they don't. Either way, they are unchallenged. You can almost feel the humiliation settle over the base like dust. Once, this harbor launched fleets meant to dominate the Pacific. Now it hides what remains of them. In a dim office overlooking the water, a naval officer reviews the final shipbuilding summaries. There is no disbelief left. No anger. Only resignation. The United States has built more aircraft carriers during the war than Japan built warships of all types combined. Liberty ships have become victory ships. Escort carriers flood the seas. Entire fleets rotate in and out of combat without slowing the advance. The numbers no longer need interpretation. They have already decided everything. Somewhere in the back of his mind, the officer remembers December 1941. The pride, the certainty, the belief that Pearl Harbor had bought the Empire years. In reality, it bought months, and those months were consumed faster than anyone imagined, burned away by an industrial machine that measured war not in honor, but in throughput. April 7, 1945. Operation Tengo. The battleship Yamato, largest ever built, steams south with barely enough fuel to return. There is no plan for survival, only for sacrifice. She is the last argument Japan has left. American radar finds her almost immediately. Carrier aircraft rise to meet her, wave after wave, launched from ships that did not exist when Pearl Harbor was attacked. Bombs fall. Torpedoes strike. The sea erupts. When Yamato finally capsizes, the explosion is visible for miles. The Imperial Japanese Navy dies with her. By summer, the truth is undeniable even at the highest levels. The war was lost the moment the production tables tipped beyond recovery. Pearl Harbor had been tactically brilliant, strategically fatal. It awakened a nation uniquely suited to fight a war of factories, logistics, and replacement. A nation that turned loss into output, and output into inevitability. In the end, there is no dramatic confrontation between admirals. No final naval duel. Just silence. Empty docks. Idle slipways. Ships that will never sail again. The numbers remain, etched into reports and memories, a quiet testament to the real weapon that decided the Pacific War. Not the carrier, not the battleship, but the shipyard. ND.